بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على عبده ورسوله نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. In our last meeting we talked about the conditions that should be present in a person so that fasting of Ramadan is obligatory upon him. And we talked about Islam as a first condition. We talked about reaching the age of puberty. And we talked about being in a state of sound mind. Today we will talk, inshallah, about the fourth condition, which is the ability. In order for you to be a must that you fast Ramadan, you should be able to fast Ramadan. So if you're not able, then Ramadan is not obligatory for you to fast. But how do we define the word able? See, scholars say that to be able, this means that you must not be ill, whether you are temporarily ill or whether you are chronically ill. And these two people, they don't have to fast. It is not a must for them to fast. And this is a sign of the mercy of Allah Azza wa Jal. Imagine if you are ill, if you have a real pain, severe pain in your body, that would increase if you fast. Imagine if Allah made it obligatory upon you in your deteriorating condition to fast. That would be torturing. And Allah Azza wa Jal does not want to do that to us. That is why we are exempt. Those who have this temporarily or chronically ill, they are excused. They are exempted from fasting the month of Ramadan. But they differ. You see, those who are temporarily ill, they must make up for the days they have missed and skipped when they are better. Yet those who are chronically ill, those who have the verdict of two trustworthy Muslim doctors that they will not get better, they're chronically ill, they'll never get better, then they have the option, alhamdulillah, not to fast, but to feed a poor person, an indigent person, for every day they do not fast. So every month, if it's 29 days, they feed 29 persons, poor persons. If it's 30, they would feed 30 poor person. Also, under this condition, the condition of ability, if a person is old, he's not ill, but he is too old to fast, then also this person is exempted from fasting the month of Ramadan. He is treated in the same manner as those who are chronically ill. He is to feed a poor person for every day that he does not fast. The fifth condition is the residency. It is not obligatory upon those who are not resident to fast. So if you're traveling, you may not fast that day of Ramadan. You have the excuse not to fast that day of Ramadan, because as in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, he said that traveling is a piece of torment, a piece of punishment, a piece of torturing. And this is understandable if you travel on horseback or camelback, if you travel walking on your foot, but if you travel in a bus or a car. But some people would question this and say, okay, if I travel on a jet plane, is it that hard? No, it's not as hard as traveling on horseback. Nevertheless, it is hard. Even if you fly for an hour or two, you still feel disoriented. If you fly for longer periods of time, you may get this jet lag, and it is a form of torturing. Nobody travels in comfort. No matter how comfortable the means of traveling he's doing, it's still, he's suffering from it. That is why Allah, the most merciful, would excuse us, would make us exempted from fasting that day of Ramadan if we are traveling. I know that there are a lot of questions that may come into mind during this session, but I will go on to the sixth condition, and then we will take the questions that may arise in your heads. And if it's not enough, we will talk about it next time we meet, inshallah, and start with the questioning session. The last and final condition is that a person who is Muslim, who has reached the age of puberty, who is in his sound mind, who is able to fast, who is a resident, he's not traveling, if this person has no obstacles, no preventions from fasting, then he should fast. And what could that mean? What are the things that may prevent you from fasting other than the 5 we've mentioned earlier? Scholars say that this is a special case for females, because females, even if they're Muslims and reach the age of puberty and they are in their sound mind and they are able and residing in one place, they are in their own hometown, if they have their monthly period, their menses, or if they have their post-birth bleeding, then it is forbidden for them to fast. It's not up to them, even if they have no hardship. It is forbidden for a woman to fast if she has her monthly period. She is to make up for the days she skipped due to this excuse. Yet, if she has this thing that prevents her from fasting, she must not. It is not allowed for her to fast. Now we open the field for any questions, and I know you've got a lot of questions concerning this subject. Does anybody have a question here? Yes, sir.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Must diabetics fast?
See, diabetes is an illness, and I'm not a physician. I'm not a medical doctor, but I know the things that make you fast and the things that you are allowed not to fast because of. So diabetic people, once they have this illness, it depends. If it is so hard for them to fast and it would cause them to faint in the middle of the day, then they should not fast. They are exempted from fasting. But if they can go on, if it's easy for them to fast, you see, as I know, it's different cases. It differs from a person to the other. In some severe cases, it is not recommended. Doctors say this guy must not fast, period. Then he should comply with the orders of the doctor, and he should not fast. But in some light cases, doctors say, no, it's okay, 16, 17 hours, it's healthy for you. It's healthy for you to fast. Then this guy has to fast, and he has to finish what he has started by fasting Ramadan, alhamdulillah, because there's no hardship and there's no harm on his health. Second question, please. Yes, sir.
In the name of Allah, and peace and blessings be upon Allah's messenger. What is the kind of food which a person who is chronically ill should pay as ransom for breaking fast during the months of Ramadan?
A chronically ill person should pay a compensation. He should feed the poor. And scholars have differed. Some of them made it as 1 mud, and some of it made it as 2 muds or half a sa', and some of them had made it a whole sa'. And the most authentic opinion is half a sa'. And what is sa'? What is mud? What is this? Sa' is a mean of measuring by size, not by weight. And each sa' consists of 4 mud. And what is a mud? A mud is a hand, 2 hands full. When you fill your 2 hands, depending on the size of the hands, so scholars say you should be a normal size. You're not a basketball player. You put your hands in, man, this takes a whole sa' in 1 mud. No, you should be a normal size. And you're not one of them tiny people that you need like 6 or 7 of those. You're a normal person. If you put your 2 hands together and you fill this is 1 mud. So scholars say you should pay 2 of that, whether it's rice, whether it's corn, depending on the normal things that the people eat in their country. And if you want to do a little bit extra, you could add some meat or chicken to that. Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him and with his father, the cousin of the Prophet ﷺ, used to, when he was really old and he could not fast Ramadan, used to get 30 poor people and make food for them and feed them all. And this does the job for a whole month. And always think of it this way: the more you offer, the more you help people, the more the reward you get at the side of Allah. So a lot of people will just give rice, for example, or corn. That's acceptable. It is acceptable. But the more you put into it, the more it's useful for the people. Nobody eats rice alone. So if you put some meat, some chicken, that would do a great job. Any more questions, please? Yes, sir.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We know that it is recommendable for kids to start fasting at an early age, and it is a must for them to fast at the age of 15. But is there any specific age in which people may cease fasting?
Well, it differs. See, kids differ. You could have a kid that is 6, 7 years old, and he is, mashallah, as strong as a bull. He could do things, he could go in and out, he could fast for 2 or 3 days, no problem. And you could have a kid that would probably faint if he did not get his candies. So it differs. Scholars say you should take each child as an individual case. You should monitor him. You should see if he's able to fast the first day for 3 hours, then that's good. Increase it next day into 5 hours to 7 hours. What is the age you start with? I would prefer to start at the age of 7 or 8, or even 9 or 10. That would be fine. But to delay it, some people, this is really awkward. Some people think that they are more merciful than Allah Azza wa Jal Almighty. And this is weird. I know a lot of people that don't wake their kids up for Fajr prayer. And when you talk to them, they say, "Ya Shaykh, he is still young. Let him enjoy his young age. He's still young for that." And when you look at the guy travels abroad, and God knows what he does abroad. He travels for 4 or 5 weeks on his own. This son of his, and he drives fast cars. He goes out of the house, and after the morning he comes back late at night. And when you talk to his parents, he said, "No, I don't want to upset my son. I would like my son to enjoy his life. He's still young. He is 34 years old and he's still young. What are you talking about? 34 years old?" He said, "Yeah, he's still young." No, he's not. See, we don't have this teenage stuff. Now, this is another issue altogether. Now, people in the West would say, now, this is a critical age from 13 till 18. He's a teenage. So you should pay more attention. You should tolerate things. You should overlook a lot of things. We don't have this in Islam. The kid is a kid. Once he reaches the age of puberty, man, he's a man. He is questioned for every single thing he does. The people at the time of the Prophet used to be men when they were 15. They used to be soldiers, they used to be scholars, they used to be people that called people to Islam and travel distances to call people into Islam when they were 15 years old. Now we end up with people that are 30 years old, 40 years old, and their parents will say, no, the poor thing is young, let him sleep. Don't wake him up for Fajr, don't let him fast. Man, he's still young. He has all the life ahead of him, and you'll never know when you die. This is wrong. You don't have the whole life ahead of you. You don't know when you will be called to answer the call of Allah Azza wa Jal. Therefore, one should teach them at a very early age so they're used to it, instead of bang, hitting them with it when they're 15. The guy never fasted for 1 hour until he was 15, and then he said, now it's obligatory for you to fast, go ahead. He will not take this. And even if he does, he will not accept it because he was not raised to do this. So that is why Islam tells you to do it, gradually, especially with the children, because you have to be nice to children. They are to be the scholars of the future. They are to be the builders of the society. So you have to gradually get Islam to them, but through the normal and correct channels. Any more questions, please? Yes, sir.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I would like to ask if someone is fasting on a certain day, the day is not in Ramadan, and it's not a special day. It's a normal Monday, the Monday Thursday fasting. In the middle of his fasting, his parents asked him to break his fast in the middle of the day because of a good reason. Maybe he gets sleepy in the time that he breaks his fast or something, and they want him to appear in a good condition in front of people at this time. So, which will be the priority? Is it to proceed with his fasting or to obey his parents? Thank you.
Scholars say that there is a difference between obligatory fasting and commendable fasting. The obligatory fasting, you may not break it for any illegitimate reason. The voluntary or commendable fasting, on the other hand, you are the prince of yourself, as they say. If you want to go ahead with it, Alhamdulillah. If you want to break it, it's up to you. It's your choice. Then we come to the pros and cons. If I continue fasting, I would be doing something commendable, and I would be something that Allah is pleased with. But if I disobey my parents for a legitimate reason, they are telling me to do this and it's legitimate, and I disobey them, then this is a grave and major sin. So definitely I will ask you to obey your parents if they have a legitimate reason. And by obeying them, Allah will write to you, Allah will grant you the reward of fasting without fasting. And this is one of the nice attributes of Islam. By the intention you have, you get the reward. Even if you don't do the action or that good deed you wanted to do. I think we have one more question.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. My question is there any specific age in which a person who is 65 years or 75 years, for example, may cease fasting?
Well, this depends on his ability, again, which is one of the conditions we've mentioned earlier. If a person is 90 years old, 150 years old, mashallah, then and he's able to fast, he should fast. But if he's 50 years old, see, it depends on the person himself. Some people that are 50 or 55 years old, they look as old as 90 years old, and they are not able to fast. Then they are exempt from fasting. But we have cases that a person is 110 years old, and this guy is in excellent condition. He walks like 10 kilometers, and he's got 3 wives and looking for the 4th. And this guy has no problem for fasting. He says, no, well, I'm 110 years old. No, this guy is as good as gold, so he should fast. There is no certain age. It depends on the condition of the person and on his ability to fast. I think that we have more questions regarding these conditions, but this is all the time we have for today's lesson. Until we meet next time, inshallah. Fi amanillah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.